Welcome back to Only Talk Sports. So we talk sports every single day, or at least we try to. I'm your host, Jeffrey, and subscribe to the channel if you like sports content, and hit that notification bell so you never miss another video. Now on Friday night, Conference USA is having their championship game, and it's between the North Texas Mean Green and the UTSA Road Runners. Who do I think is going to win this game? Let's break it down. Now North Texas is 7-5 and 6-2 in Conference USA to start this season, and Seth Littrell at head coach. He's done a pretty good job. He's been there for a few years, and they've had some up and down seasons, but this has been one of his better seasons. And in week 0, they beat UTEP on the road 31-13, and that was a good win. Then they lost to SMU 48-10. That was a tough loss because SMU is a decent American Conference team, but they weren't very competitive against them. Then they beat Texas Southern 59-27. That was a good win. Then they lost at UNLV 58-27 in a game that their defense did not do anything at all. Then they lost at Memphis 44-34, and they struggled on defense in this game as well, but their offense did put up a lot of points. Then they beat Florida Atlantic 45-28, and that was a good win. Then they beat Louisiana Tech 47-27. That was a good win. But then they lost at UTSA 31-27. That was a tough loss because Texas San Antonio is probably the best Conference USA team. They are the only undefeated team in Conference USA. North Texas almost knocked them off. Then they won at Western Kentucky 40-13. That was a great win because Western Kentucky is a really good Conference USA team. Then they beat FIU 52-14, and then they lost at UAB 41-21. That was a tough loss. But then they bounced back and beat Rice 21-17 in the final game of the regular season, and that was a good win to get a win over Rice. And in that Rice game, quarterback Austin Ani had 203 yards and 2 touchdowns. He's a decent quarterback. He does have turnover issues at times, but he has improved a lot on not turning the ball over as much this year, and he is a really solid quarterback. Running back Ikaka Ragsdale at 122 yards and a touchdown and 59 receiving yards and a touchdown. He's a very talented running back. He's a dual threat where he can catch the ball out of the backfield and run the ball through the tackles. He's a really solid running back. Wide receiver Jair Shorter, 45 yards and a touchdown. So North Texas has a really solid offense. They do put up a lot of points in a lot of games. And on the defense side of the ball, linebacker Larry Nixon III at 6 tackles. Linebacker Madsen Richards at 5 tackles, and defensive back Riz Tixada had 3 tackles for North Texas against Rice. And North Texas's defense, they've struggled at times this season to stop teams. They've given up a lot of points in a lot of games, but I think their defense has improved a little bit as the season's gone along. But I would say North Texas's offense is better than their defense. Now on the UTSA side, Texas San Antonio is 10-2 and 8-0 in Conference USA this season, and they have done a great job. They're undefeated in conference play, and Jeff Traylor, head coach, has done a great job to turn the Roadrunner program around because they were a really struggling program a few years ago, but he's really turned them around, and a lot of people wanted him to be their next head coach, but he has stayed committed to the UTSA program, and they've done a really good job this season. And in week 1, they lost to Houston 37-35 in triple overtime. That was a tough loss because Houston's a really solid American Conference team, and they almost won, but they could not get the win. Then they won at Army 41-38 in overtime, and that was a great win to squeak that one out against the Armed Forces teams. They lost at Texas 41-20, and they tried to be competitive against a really solid Texas team. And they didn't play too bad, they just could not get the win. Then they beat Texas Southern 52-24. That was a good win. Then they beat Middle Tennessee State on the road 45-30. That was a good win. Then they won against Western Kentucky 31-28. Very good one over a really solid Conference USA team. Then they won at FIU 30-10. Then they beat North Texas 31-27, and that was a very close win for UTSA, and they were able to get the win over the team that they're going to be playing in the Conference USA championship game, and at least they were able to get the win. They did struggle a little bit in that game. Then they won at UAB 44-38 in double overtime, and that was a tough win because UTSA's defense really struggled in this game, but they were able to pull out the win. Then they beat Louisiana Tech 51-7. That was a good win. Then they beat Rice 41-7, and then they beat UTEP 34-31 in the final game of the regular season. That was a good win, even though they did struggle to pull away against an inferior opponent, but they did get the win. And in that UTEP game, quarterback Frank Harris at 382 yards and 2 touchdowns and 14 rushing yards. He's a really solid quarterback. He can run, but he does like to throw more than he runs, but he is a solid runner. He's a very good quarterback. A lot of people don't talk about Frank Harris, but he is one of the better quarterbacks in college football. Running back Kavorian Barnes at 55 yards and wide receiver Tyke Ogle Kellogg at 142 yards and a touchdown, and wide receiver Zachary Franklin at 126 yards and a touchdown against UTEP. And UTSA is a great offense. Their offense is really good on the ground, but it's even better through the air, and they've been solid all season. On the defensive side of the ball, cornerback Corey Mayfield Jr., 5 tackles, and defensive lineman Christian Clayton, 2 tackles for UTSA against UTEP. And UTSA's defense is solid. They have had some games this season where they have struggled on defense, but their defense isn't terrible, but their offense is fantastic. UTSA has a really great offense, and they've been really solid on offense all season. So who do I think is going to win this game? This game is really interesting because UTSA has already played North Texas, and they won by 4. But it's very tough to beat a team twice in the same season, as a lot of people will say. But North Texas, they've been really solid this season. They've done a good job in Conference USA. Seth Littrell has done a great job at head coach. They have a decent offense, and their defense has struggled at times this season, but it looks like they have improved on the defensive side of the ball. But UTSA, they are a great offensive team. Their offense is fantastic. Jeff Traylor's done a really good job at head coach at UTSA. He's got his players playing fantastic football on offense. And yes, UTSA's defense has struggled at times this season in a lot of games, but they have improved a little bit as well, even though in the last game of the season against UTEP they struggled a bit, but they've had games this season where they've shown that they can be a good defensive team. But UTSA's offense is fantastic. I think that's going to be the difference in this game. And also the other difference as well is that UTSA has dominated some opponents more than North Texas has, to kind of suggest that they are a better football team. I think North Texas is a really good team, but they have struggled against inferior competition, and UTSA has a little bit as well. But I think UTSA is just a little bit better on both sides of the ball than North Texas, and I'm going to go with UTSA to beat North Texas 35-31. I think North Texas can win this game. I think this game can go either way. It's going to be really close, and I know they always say it's tough to beat a team twice in the same season, but I think UTSA just has a little bit better of a football team overall than North Texas, and I think they're going to find a way to beat North Texas again, and I got UTSA beating North Texas 35-31 in the Conference USA Championship game. Subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Like this video down below. Comment down below whether you think North Texas or UTSA is going to win this game and why, and I will see you next time.